Hey guys, what's up? Let me adjust the volume here just a little bit. Hold on. All right. Okay, what's up, guys? Yeah, it is March 9th, 2019. And as you could tell, I am home, got home last night around about 7:30, it seemed. As a matter of fact, let me check my security so I can make sure I'm correct about that. But yeah, clocked in at about. I got back home at about 7:30 last night. Um, and the last video, of course, you guys saw before this was me filming at the Hampton Inn, showing you our room. And let me see. Got in officially about 7:37. Hope you can really see that. Yeah, we got in at about 7:37 last night, and to say that it's been an emotional 72 hours almost uh, would be an understatement, because it has been exactly that. It has been an emotional 72 hours for me and my family, due to the fact that a lot of you, as you know, when I did my special channel update, and then I mentioned it briefly in a sense yesterday, um, excuse me there, but we were just, it was just an emotional moment. Like I said, my grandma had passed away back on the 28th of last month, and we just laid her to rest. Sorry about that. Yesterday, and it was, like I said, very, very emotional for a lot of us. Um, but what's weird about it, guys, is yes, we cried and everything. When you lose a loved one, it's hard. It's hard not to hold back emotions. In fact, my cousin, my youngest cousin, or second to youngest cousin, just really let it all out yesterday. I mean, she just okay. Now, what I'm trying to say is, for any of you, and I'm sure a lot of you have had your own experiences going to funerals for loved ones and stuff that have passed on, with other grandparents, great grandparents, uncles, aunts. It's hard. You get to a point towards the end of the service where they let you have one final goodbye before, the pallbearers, mostly the men of the family, the young men of the family, carry the casket to the hearse, then for the drive up to the cemetery. Um, but yeah, my cousin, my second youngest cousin, who would take care of my grandma when she was living on her own after my grandpa passed, and then would, like I said, she was living on her own. My grandpa passed. My second youngest cousin would go and visit her and help her out and take care of her, along with my one of my older cousins, who's 2 years older than me, about the same age as my second oldest sister, and she, just let it all out. She was crying and everything, and it was hard for a lot of us, to just, to go through this. But in in the end, we know she's in a better place. She's with God now. She's with the Lord. She's reunited with my grandpa, with the pets, if you will. So, she's happy again. And what's unusual about this, guys, is it feels like, and it feels like, how do I put this? It feels like things are kind of back to normal, like the back to status quo. It's it's kind of like with my mom, me and my mom's cat, mostly her cat. When we had to put her to sleep due to the fact that she was getting to a point that if we didn't do something, we would have found her passed away in the garage or something. And what it is that even though we had her cremated, we have her ashes here in the house, it feels like she's not really gone. I mean, I would tell my mom this, and this is pretty much true. It feels like essentially and spiritually she's still here. Because one of the things she always liked to do was be in the garage and hide sometimes. And it feels like that's what she's doing still. It feels like she's just, in the garage, hiding, just relaxing, doing her own thing. And when it comes to my grandma now, my grandpa now, my grandma, it feels like just it feels like they're just at home. They're just at their home that they've had since they've had all the kids. Well, they moved there, I think, when one of my aunts were born or something, and which was Thomas Avenue in Hayward, California. And they lived there for a majority of their life. For a majority of their life. And it feels like that even though there's a different family living there now, it feels like they're still there. It feels like that family doesn't even matter, and that if you take that family out of the equation, no offense, that my grandpa and grandma are still there. They're still living in that house. It feels it feels like it just feels like things are back to status quo. It just feels like that. I don't know why, and I think that's a good feeling because it's like, even though, like I said, they're in a better place, them being together again feels right. Feels like now things are back to normal, back to status quo, almost in a sense of come full circle again. It's just another chapter. Um, but what's crazy about it, not what's crazy, but what's unusual about it is we know that in a sense it's the end of an era. And I know there's a lot of families that have gone through this, where they've lost both grandparents. Sometimes they'll lose one grandparent, you know, like I did. I lost my grandpa on my birthday back in 2006. And it was hard. Um, it was hard to go through that. But it's like I said, we've all gone through this. I know people watching have gone through this to where they lose one grandparent almost a decade before, and then a decade or so later, or if not a few years later, they lose the other grandparent. But once they're back together, in a sense, it feels almost like things are getting back to status quo. It almost feels like things are back to normal. But like I said, what I was trying to say is when that happens, when you lose that one grandparent and then later on you lose the other, and true, there are several, if not a lot of instances to where um, the grandparents will want to be buried together, and that's how my grandparents were. Uh, were done. But the point is, Even though, in a sense, for a lot of us, it feels like things have gotten back to normal, as crazy as that sounds, um, it's the end of an era, in a way. And I know that's unusual to say, if you will. It's unusual to say that it's the end of an era, but in a way it is. Because, here's the thing. My Here's the thing. We always had that one connection. Here's the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, let me get a bit of coffee here. What I'm trying to say is, um, even though as we get older and we go our separate ways, and our nieces and nephews, or in some cases grandkids, start having families of their own, start go and get married off and have families of their own, and your aunts and your uncles start becoming grandparents of their own on their own, and even your own parents become grandparents, and you become another part of you, and another layer is added to you as an aunt or an uncle, in some cases a great aunt or great uncle. It's you always know that there's that one connection. There's always that one connection that that brings you all together, and that's the foundation of the original grandparents. And when that foundation, or when that one connection breaks off or disappears, it becomes the end of an era. And that's kind of what's happened here. It's basically the end of an era in a sense, but not really. Like I said, it's like the end of an era, but not really. And when I say that, it's because of the fact that, even though, as I mentioned earlier, it feels like things are back to the way they should be. It's like your grandparents are living together again, but in a better place. But you feel essentially and spiritually they're still at that one place you know them to be at, even though it's not technically true. In a way, it's like the end of an era. It's like this is that one last vestige of an era that is moving on and has evolved and become more, and as they moved on to that eternal place, in heaven, on behind the pearly gates, however you look at it. And it's difficult to sometimes acknowledge that, because even though when they would be alive and you would start seeing, and even though families would start developing their own families and expanding and stuff, you always had that one connection that brought you together. And now for my family, it's like, where do we go from here? How do we go from here? And the one thing that one of my aunts always brought up, and they brought it up yesterday, is we got to basically find a way to get back together once in a while as a family, just like we used to. Go back, kind of get back together as we once were, where it doesn't matter if one section of the family is favored over the other. It's the fact that we get together and see how each other are doing. And that's all that matters. Try to keep a tradition that was built with that original foundation, that original connection of the grandparents, alive. And that's how I look at it. It's like, you got to keep that alive somehow. You have to keep that going, and hopefully, by the grace of God, we'll be able to do that in the future. And not have to and not have to worry about something like this happening being the only reason families get together. You got to get together just to see how each other's doing. I mean, even the pastor yesterday that did the service said, look, you have to be together. You have to see how each other's doing. And that's all that really matters. You know, like I said, for me and my family, it was emotional. It was hard. I mean, this is like the second time out here that I've had to, along my cousins and my nephew, if you are my oldest nephew, be a pallbearer for my grandparents' funeral. And like I said, it's not easy. It's not really easy to go through with this. But now I know my grandma and my grandpa would want us to move forward and get back to normal, try to get back on track and move forward. And that's why I'm doing this live stream, to kind of give you guys an idea of what's been going on over the past 72 hours, as well as to let you know that I am going to try to get back on normal tracks here, because that's what my grandparents would want me to do. I mean, right now my mom is with my sister and my niece, and my niece's son, my great nephew, and my older sister's son, my second older sister's son. Um, they are basically at a rock festival, some kind of rock exhibit or festival in Turlock. And so I'm here spending time with our dog, who, for any of you that have pets, it's kind of hard that even for a day you have to leave them at home because of the fact that you can't take them with you because something might happen. Like they might have an accident or something. And thank God she didn't have no accident while we were gone, because we put a lot of pads down. We've had some doggy pads for her for quite some time. They're kind of getting a little worn out, but thankfully she hasn't done anything on those as much, because it has a scent on it. But what happened the other day is my mom also bought us some bigger pads, these kind of XL pads for bigger dogs, to spread throughout the house a little bit, because we weren't going to be home to let her out. But thankfully she didn't do anything, and she just waited. If she did do something, apparently the pads are very absorbent, because we didn't smell anything, because of course they control the odor and everything. So like I said, they control the odor. So, and I guess if they're absorbent, they absorbed any pee she may have done, but we don't think she did any, because we would check on her through the security camera and we wouldn't see nothing. So, I wouldn't see nothing. But yeah, again, like I said, I just wanted to come on here and kind of let you guys know that after an emotional 72 hours and stuff, that I am trying to get back to normal around here. The way things are going to work out is I'm off tomorrow, but I'll be at church. So if I do anything, I have my alarm set. If I do any kind of live stream in the morning, I do any live stream tomorrow, will be in the early morning. But I'm also off Monday and Tuesday. So if I get up early to do something, then I'll let you guys know. And then I kind of get back onto a normal schedule a bit until 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, because what is today? Today's the 9th. Okay, so in about 2 weeks, which should be about, I think, the 23rd, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, it'll be the 23rd. On the 23rd, things are going to, schedule-wise, really change for me, because, of course, that's going to be the end of the first week that my mom goes back to work after this personal, emotional situation. But what's funny is the second to last week before she gets spring break, I will be off. So essentially, I'm getting my own break, if you will, for the first 2 days of that week, which would be about, what is it, the 25th is when is a Monday. So for the 25th, the 26th, and then the 27th and 28th I work, and then the 29th I'm off. So it's like, okay, this is unusual. This is weird. But it is, like I said, but pretty much it's that time of year right now to where if you work in any kind of retail job of any kind, hours do get cut. Hours do kind of get sliced down to a minimum for a bit because of the fact that it slows down and the fact that you are hiring on some new people. So they need to kind of test those people out or something. But I don't know. Maybe it might change. I mean, I look at it this way. It's not that I don't mind it, but knowing how my job is, and I wouldn't mind it anyway because I'd rather be working, is they will notice this and they'll be like, wait a minute. Why is Brian off on all these days? Because when I first saw this, I'm thinking, did they get my bereavement mixed up with this? That don't make sense. So, but hopefully things will work out. And if I end up having that schedule up until that week and I'm off that Monday, Tuesday, and that Friday, okay, so be it. But if not, and they change it up, I'll be more than happy to work because pretty much it's my home away from home when I look at it. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here, guys, kind of let you know that I'm going to trying to get back to normal now. Let you guys know what's been going on over the past 72 hours. I mean, the way it worked, the way we did this, just to let you guys know, is on Monday. I think it was Monday, I believe, Monday or Tuesday. It was actually Monday. It's actually Monday. Wait a minute. When did I put that in? Did I put that in the 4th? Let me check. Yeah, I put it in the 4th is what I did. But what happened on Monday is my mom texted me on the phone telling me my aunt had decided that the best solution is just to spend the night in Hayward, California at the Hampton Inn instead of fighting the morning traffic. And that's what we did. Although my niece and my second oldest sister, my cousin who's a half year older than me, my pastor who was kind enough to come out and support us, as well as some other relatives, they had to fight the traffic, but what they did is they left early enough to get down here, so thank the Lord for that, or get down there. But the rest of us decided the best solution would be to go ahead the day before and just stay the night at the Hampton Inn in Hayward, which we did. And here's the thing, I've never been to the Hampton Inn, but I've gone by it many times when me and my mom would ride my aunt and my uncle. So just to know, because here's the thing about this. The Hampton Inn, for any of you guys that do live in Hayward, California, or been to Hayward or through Hayward, the Hampton Inn is right corner across from a place called the Hayward Plunge. Right across from it is the drive-in known as the One Half Burger or One Half Giant Burger. This way is El Pollo Loco, and on this side is Jack in the Box. So it's in the vicinity of proper eateries and some entertainment if you like to swim at the Hayward Plunge. Which I've been to the Hayward Plunge because honestly, me and my family for the longest time lived in Hayward, California. Well, long story short, it was Hayward. It was Hayward, California, Pittsburgh, California, Newark, Hayward, Fremont, Hayward, borderline Hayward, San Lorenzo, Waterford, then borderline Hayward, San Lorenzo, Hayward, Kansas, Oskaloosa, Kansas, Hayward, Topeka, Kansas, back to Hayward, and then for me, Oskaloosa, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas. For my family out here, various portions: Hayward, Castro Valley, Livermore, Tracy, Patterson, and now for me and my mom, Newman. So yeah, our family's had an extensive travel log when it comes to moving. But yeah, we stayed at the Hampton Inn, and it's nice. It's really nice. It's a nice place. We all were basically in vicinity of each other. It's like my mom and me were in me and my mom were in one room. My aunt and uncle were right next door to us. Across, my aunt and uncle that we rode with were right next door to us. My other aunt and uncle were across from them. Then a few doors down was my cousins on one side, and then a few doors down was my older sister and her family. So yeah, we stayed there for the day, for the night, which I think a lot of you would agree is probably the best idea to do, because if you're going to have to fight traffic, like I'm sure a lot of you, depending on where you live here in the U.S., deal with something similar to, you're like, well, we live in this vicinity about 60, 70 miles away, but we don't want to fight the traffic the next day to get to the funeral or get to whatever event, family event. So let's just stay the night. Let's just go the day early, stay the night, which I'm sure a lot of you do. In fact, my older aunt, my mom's older sister, who's a year older than her, is staying the night in Hayward, along with my cousins, two of them that flew in, one from Texas, one from Florida, which are her son and daughter. And then my other cousin, who lives in San Jose, along with his brother. So yeah, they decided to stay at what's known as the La Quinta, and they're going to stay there at least until this Monday to kind of visit around, kind of try to get back to normal themselves, I'm assuming. And then my cousins have to fly back, I think, on Monday as well. But yeah, it's just, like I said, we stayed there, and then after everything was done, after everything emotionally was taken care of, we, like I said, go into, the funeral, going to. Okay, so here's a little bit of details. The funeral took place at the Holy Angel Sorensen Chapel in Hayward. The progression after that to the cemetery was to Lone Tree Cemetery in Hayward. And then after that, we went to the Hayward Ranch. And what was unique about it is my aunt had things scheduled, and what happened is everything was bumped up. Well, not bumped up, but everything kind of went ahead of schedule, even with us going up even with me, my sisters, my mom, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, all going up and giving our own, talking about our own memories and stuff, and eulogies, if you will. After all that was said and done, all that, we ended up going to the Hayward Ranch, and we were a little ahead. We were a little ahead of schedule. So, we went from there. So we just bided our time a little bit. And then finally, we just sat down and ate. And it was good. Good food at the Hayward Ranch. If you guys, like I said, live in the vicinity of Hayward, or you're traveling through Hayward and you want to get a bite to eat, go to the Hayward Ranch. It's very good food. Just one thing to let you guys know. If you have a party there, if you have reservations to have a family event or family party, just note, let the servers, who are very good servers, very respectful, just let them know that they need to keep an eye on anybody else that's not part of your event or your party from sneaking a bit of food. Yeah. Yeah, you don't believe me? That's exactly what happened. I noticed it. My sisters, my cousins noticed it. Because, okay, so we were in one room, with the tables, dining room, whatever, reserved for the event. In the other room was, of course, a little area, a little dining area, not like an event area, event dining. You get the idea. One area is for event, city seating, reservations, dining area, and the other is just a small dining area where people can still go and sit, but it's a main place to like have the food at. That's reserved for the party. Hold on for a sec. All right, sorry about that. Let me just a headset here for a second, and sorry for the mic hit here. Don't thing, but anyway, like I said, if you have a party and an event at a place like the Haywood Ranch or anywhere, just let the servers know to kind of put lids on some of the plates, or to have some people, servers or waitresses or waiters or attendees, walking around so that nobody else that's not part of your party could sneak food, because that's exactly what happened. And but yeah, we had a good time, and we just dispersed from there. What's funny is we all had to take what's known as the Altamont Pass to get back to Tracy, because that's where me and my mom had parked her vehicle for the day, because we were traveling with my aunt and uncle. And what was funny is when you get on the Altamont, especially during a certain time of day, it gets busy, it gets backed up a little bit, even to the point that we passed up and then they passed up us, my cousin's family and my sister's family, my older sister. So, yeah, we were basically, it was that backed up, if you will. So, but yeah, just again, I wanted to just come on here, guys, and let you know that I'm going to I'm going to be trying to get back to normal now, and I'll probably do another live video in a little bit to talk about some other things. But I just wanted to come on, let you guys know what's been going on, what's been happening, and I'm now going to try to get back to normal around here, starting today. So thank you all for your prayers and your condolences. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in live. Thank you all for your prayers and condolences and tuning in post live. And I will talk to you all later, maybe in a little bit. So until then, God bless. Peace out. I'm done. God bless. Peace out. I am done.